Good morning, everyone. I'm Council President Pro Tem Jan Perry. This is the Energy and Environment Special Meeting, and it is about 10 after 9 on Tuesday, March 22nd. We are in room 1060, and we have a few items. Are there any continuances?
No continuances, but we'd like to recommend for consent items 5 and 6. 5 relates to sewer service annexation requests, report from Public Works, and number 6 relates to contract by Public Works with Ballard Diving for services associated with Hyperion Treatment Facility.
Okay, great. All right, we will consent those 2 items. Then let's go back to item number 1.
Number 1 relates to communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Mr. Richard Moss to the current Water and Power Commissioners Board.
Okay, Mr. Moss, how are you? Why?
Morning.
Morning. Why don't you talk a little bit about your experience and your qualifications to serve on the board of the Department of Water and Power Commission, and if you have any utility-oriented experience, please share that.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. Very honored to be here. My background is I'm a lawyer by training and worked in private practice for a number of years, both in a firm and as a solo practitioner, and then again, finally in a partnership. About 11 years ago, I transferred over into a business activity with a family business. We own and operate office buildings in the San Fernando Valley and are good customers of DWP. Been very active in public service, been a member of a number of charitable foundations, and currently serving as an officer of the Foundation for University of California, Santa Cruz, and I'm also the chairperson of political action committee in the San Fernando Valley called ValPAC. I think that all of these experiences on the business side, the legal side, public and private charity side have taught me a lot of lessons about consensus, about how to manage difficult budgetary and other kinds of challenges, and a great sensitivity to the needs of the public.
Have you had a chance to get briefed on the department's integrated resources plan?
Yeah, very cursory at this point. I've looked at it. I haven't had a chance to really study it in depth, but I am aware of the challenges that DWP faces over the next, say, decade with infrastructure replacement.
And then how do you envision the commission working with the department to be able to, and with the city council and the governing structure as it is, given the passage of I and J, ratepayer advocate, and some of the changes that have taken place in terms of how the department times its budget rollout on an annual basis? Have you given any thought to all that? Yeah,
I've given a lot of thought to that. That's a lot in that question, so let me unpack it a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
I think the main thing, one of the things I'm most excited about is I'd like to see the commission urge DWP in concert with the city council and the mayor's office and the public employees unions to really work on a long-term, at least 10-year plan to manage a lot of this infrastructure replacement. I think that's critical, and I think under a long-term plan like that, a lot of the concerns that you mentioned about the budgeting need to be addressed. DWP has some really strong challenges that it's going to be facing in the near and medium future to maintain its great service to the city of Los Angeles, and at the same time be able to comply with all the regulatory mandates that it's facing and get off of coal as much as we can, move into an area where we're boosting our renewables from 20% to the next level in the 30s, and that's going to take a lot of work and a lot of coordination. And what's most important is that the customers of DWP and the citizens of City of Los Angeles aren't stuck with a bill as a surprise in order to make this all happen.
Okay. Do you have any particular initiatives or goals that you're interested in?
Sort of on the specific, there are 2 areas that I want to look at real quickly. One, I know that DWP is redoing its billing format. As a customer myself, I've most often been flummoxed by my monthly bills. And so I've been privy to see a draft of the new bill form, so I want to shepherd that through and get that online.
Yeah,
as
do me
quickly as
a
possible.
favor, because that one's been done for a while, and I don't know why it hasn't rolled out.
Well, I will
Yeah.
check into that because
And
I'd like
then,
to see it.
yeah, and again, so you know, the person who came up with that idea, her name was Barbara Blinderman, and she's a lawyer. She's a resident up in one of the canyons, and a very active senior citizen who felt aggravated by the bill format and worked with the department for probably almost a year with focus groups and reformatting and studying the bill and trying to make it easier. So I don't understand why it's stuck, but once you get up there, maybe you
Well, I'll
can.
definitely check into it right
unstick
away.
it.
The
Yes.
other area that I also have experience working with DWP is in some of the business programs that DWP offers to encourage people to move towards more renewable and sustainable products, to do retrofits and that sort of thing. And I think there's a lot of improvement that can be made in that area. So I look forward to working with DWP staff and trying to give them the benefit of my experiences to see if we can make that a more robust program.
Great. Now, we have a little bit of time before March 31st, so I'm going to ask that you have your file complete, or please have his file complete before this goes to council. Is it complete
Actually,
yet?
it's agendized.
But is it going to be
today.
complete?
Oh, actually, I'm not certain about that.
Because it says
We'd have-
pending here.
Get it.
We haven't received any response either from the Ethics Commission
This is not your problem.
or the parties involved in the background investigation, so.
Well, can somebody expedite that, please, so we can have it, because I'm trying to get us as a body to be consistent in approving commissioners who have complete files, okay? So when is this agendized?
For today, we'll contact the necessary parties.
Well, okay, this has nothing to do with you, okay? But,
We'll contact ethics.
yeah,
as this meeting's
it's
over.
kind of ridiculous. I mean, how many times have we said this? I just flipped back to the page and it says pending. And if there is a time limit filing on this of March the 31st,
Yes.
so let's get this done this morning then and complete the file, okay? All right, so I'll see you downstairs,
Okay, great.
okay? There is one card, but you can, Dr. Williams is going to come up, but you can relax.
Okay, great.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Dr. Williams. So, and one more time for the record, I don't like to send commission appointments forward with incomplete files. I know I've said that on the council floor a number of times, so Mr. CLA and Mr. City Clerk, whatever you can do to help us get this file completed this morning, so that Mr. Moss doesn't have to be inconvenienced, I would appreciate it. Okay, thank you. Okay, Dr. Williams.
Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA. Also, DWP liaison for the LA 32 Neighborhood Council. We're quite concerned regarding how the new members of the board will interact with the ratepayers advocate and with, in general, public-private participation and public participation. Attorneys can do many things, and there are a lot of contracts. We understand that. We need a lot more public participation in this particular agency. We have problems with a lot of things with DWP as over. The whole issue of the coal and now the recycling of Hyperion tertiary treatment represent huge investments over the next 10 years, 20 years. The ratepayers are going to have to pay and pay and pay. And we're quite concerned about the participation of the public and the ratepayers in the development of these programs. So far, we're not very satisfied with it. We'd dearly love to have members of the board, including this new one, come to the Neighborhood Council Coalition meetings, first Saturday of every month over in Hollywood at the Police Department on Fountain. We'd like to have him come earlier because at 8:30 rather than 10, there is a DWP coalition meeting. And a lot of people will be able to tell him and inform him of some of the problems with the DWP and with the environmental programs that are underway right now.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Dr. Williams. And why don't you give him your card so that he can get in touch with you and go to the meetings. All right, let the record reflect that Mr. Koretz has joined us. We still do not have a quorum, so this will go forward as a recommendation. The next item is item number 2.
Number 2, DWP report in response to motion Smith Perry relative to the city's participation in the Los Angeles County Energy Program.
Good morning. Gretchen Hardison, Los Angeles Department of Water and Power.
Sharon G., CRA.
Good morning. This report discusses the feasibility of the city participating in the Los Angeles County Energy Program, which has now been redesigned and is now called Energy Upgrade California in Los Angeles County. LA County requires a city council resolution to participate in this program, but no funding from the city is required. The program was originally established to provide property tax secured loans for home energy improvements for residents of the county pursuant to AB 811. It's also known as PACE financing, property assessed clean energy financing. As part of the development of this program, the county established a property tax assessment district to enable this financing program, which covers the entire county of Los Angeles. Unfortunately, given the state of the economy and the housing market, the Federal Housing Finance Authority prohibited the use of this type of financing for any residential mortgages that were financed through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. So LA County had to redesign its program and drop the PACE financing component, and now is following the state's lead on the Energy Upgrade California program, which is a pretty comprehensive program of looking at whole house improvements to existing homes. The property tax financing element, however, is still available to commercial properties, and the CRA is developing and will be rolling out one of the only commercial financing programs in Los Angeles County using, assuming the City Council approves the resolution to join the program, that would be necessary.
What happens if the state eliminates the redevelopment agency, and can the city even afford to pick this up?
This program is being funded by a combination of state energy program funds through. This program is being funded by a combination of state energy program funds.
Say your name for the record.
Sharon G., CRA, through the California Energy Commission, and also EECBG funds through the city's formula allocation. All the administrative costs are included as part of the grant, and so we don't anticipate any impacts to the general fund should the state eliminate the redevelopment agency.
Okay.
The resolution joining the county program is also required to have city residents qualify for a $500 county rebate that they've established for homeowners who achieve a 20% energy savings by doing home energy retrofit projects. The report also addresses a complementary program that LADWP is operating, also financed through Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant funds. And this program is being modified from the way it was described in the text, given the length of time it's taken to get it together and the spending deadlines we have for the Energy Efficiency Block Grant funds. Our primary goal in redesigning this is to ensure and work with the county to make sure that the city's residents, our customers, will still qualify for the county energy rebate, and to really emphasize home efficiency programs that we already have on the books that are available now for residents to reduce their home energy use.
Okay, a couple of quick questions. So, based on my understanding, one of the major components of LACEP was including AB 11 because of the financing aspect of it. Now, I think for the average layperson, the understanding would be that it's to facilitate the purchase of energy efficiency components, like solar power systems probably being the most obvious, and then creating a financing mechanism that places the cost on your property tax bill, and then you recover the funds back over a longer period of time. But because of not only problems we have here at the state, but at the federal level, this program's been put on hold. And so I'm not clear as to what the status of that aspect of it is. And do you think that LACEP could ultimately support a residential AB 811 program, because at every level of government, we got problems.
All good questions. The program has been redesigned under the umbrella of Energy Upgrade California, which now emphasizes a whole house approach to home energy improvements. So there are two primary pathways that a resident can achieve that: a basic weatherization package and a more comprehensive but more varied approach towards improving the efficiency of one's air conditioners and other home systems, basically improvements that are affixed to the property. The idea is to right-size the energy usage of the home before one looks at solar power or other supplemental energy. The county went quite a ways through the process of establishing this tax financing district and going through steps leading up to being able to provide loans to residents. They spent quite a bit of time, probably 10, 12 months, on developing that program, and they have assured us that should things change in Washington and should the economy improve, they would be in a position to add that financing component back in. In the meantime, they're working with the state to provide a guidebook on other home energy financing options.
And what threshold do we have to cross where they define improvements so that we are able to kick in on that program again?
That I'm not sure. I can certainly check in with the county and get that information.
Yeah,
to
I'd
you.
like to know. I think the maker of the motion may want to know that too, because in order to monitor it, we have to know what expectation is realistic as to when we might be back online. So whatever trigger they're looking at, I think we need to know that.
Okay, we'll get that information.
Okay, last question before I go to the cards is, how do you ensure that most residents take advantage of these programs, or this program?
The county just launched on March 1st a tremendously large marketing effort in support of Energy Upgrade California. There have been television commercials, radio.
mic closer. Your
There have
voice.
been messages on radio and television. They have print ads. They're also focusing on detailed marketing within several portions of the city of the county of Los Angeles, a couple of which border on city areas. We've been in touch with them throughout the development of their marketing campaign, and they've made materials available to us, templates and things that we can use. Our department will be launching a home energy education piece over the next couple of months that will also remind folks and really get into some of the details of how we can all work to improve our homes and the energy use.
Okay. When are you going to roll that out?
Targeting about May.
Okay, when you're ready to roll it out, why don't you come back to committee so you can talk about it in committee, and maybe we can help you get it on Channel 35
Great.
and encourage them to post it, and maybe people can put it on their Facebook pages, and that sort of thing, to spread the impact of it.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, a couple of questions.
Yeah, oh, hold on a second. I didn't forget you. Can you think, what did you say, mid-May or?
Mid-May is safe, maybe early May.
Okay, so, Mr. CLA, let's make sure that we roll back with them and get them back in here. Mr. Koretz has some questions, and we do have a speaker card, too.
Yeah, just a couple. Is there any downside to this? Any potential costs? Anything that could go wrong that would be a negative for the city?
Not that we've been able to identify. I think it is necessary for the CRA program, the commercial financing program, to move forward. Most of the cities in Los Angeles County have already joined the program. They joined when the property tax financing component was still contained in this program, but we don't see any downside.
And does this program have any goals? Are they shooting to do 10,000 homes? I mean, do they have any real plan to this?
They do. They have a fairly comprehensive plan to retrofit. Their goal is to retrofit 15,000 homes in the county. Various levels of retrofits. Edison and Southern California Gas Company are in their joint territories. They are offering rebates to help entice residents and the contractors that they're working with to achieve certain levels of energy savings within their homes, and there are rebates tied to those various levels of efficiency. There's contractor training, there are contractor orientations, there's a fair amount of consumer education going on as well. So they're really pushing to create jobs in the contractor field. They're pushing to achieve greenhouse gas reductions as well from those energy savings.
And in the DWP area, are we offering any additional rebates, or is it just whatever the county program is offering?
We have looked at a joint rebate with a gas company in our joint territory. However, our only source of funding at this point in time is the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant, and we have some fairly aggressive spending deadlines that we're looking at. The investor-owned utilities did receive funding through the PUC, and they've been working on that for probably 2 years now to set up this program and identify rebate amounts. So we just don't have the level of funding that they have, and I don't think we'll be able to participate at those levels that have been set out. We are focusing on our existing home energy rebate programs and incentives. We do have a fairly good menu, and we've added a couple of additional ones last October that fit within the umbrella of the whole house approach. And so we think those are good to rely on and really push the funding out through those programs that are available now to our residents.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And Mr. Jim Stewart, if you would come forward on item 2, I think you want to comment on this.
Hi, I'm Jim Stewart, and I'm the chair of the Global Warming Energy Air Quality Committee for the Angeles chapter, the Sierra Club, representing the 40,000 members in LA County that are very, very concerned about our future in terms of the global warming and energy crises and everything like that. And so we are very, very supportive of this program. And the only downside, I think you got your finger to, Mr. Koretz, is that DWP doesn't have the same level of funding as SoCal Edison, which is mandated under the PUC to have a sizable kind of energy efficiency rebate program. And the DWP is not under that kind of mandate. And so I'm looking forward to working with Mr. Moss here in terms of getting the DWP program up to the kind of level of Edison so that the DWP customers can have the same kind of program that is going to be happening in the rest of the county. And the Sierra Club is going to be actually a part of the marketing of this. We've already have in the April 1st issue of our newsletter, we will have a program announcement of this, and we're going to be participating in the Energy Champions program, which is going to have nonprofit organizations like ourselves promoting this throughout our membership. So we're really looking forward to having this program be a real success, and we're looking forward to working with DWP and Edison on this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And again, we don't have a quorum, so we'll move this forward without recommendation. Next item is item number 3.
Yes, Madam Chair. Actually, items number 3 and 4 both relate to refunding of revenue bonds for Department of Water and Power, so if you like, you could hear them
Those
jointly.
together.
Number 3 relates to the issuance of water system revenue bonds for $350 million, and number 4 relates to power system revenue bonds for $1.5 billion.
Great.
Hi, I'm Peter Wynn from Financial Services Organization, and we're here seeking City Council approval for the authorizations to issue refunding bonds for both the water system and the power systems. Basically, the authorizations at this point establishes the maximum issuing amount, the interest rate, and terms for the refunding bonds. With regard to the market, we have seen the tax-exempt market decline over the past year, though volatile recently. If the market opportunities do not have a long window, so we thought this is prudent that we have the authorizations in place, so when opportunities do present itself, then we can exercise our refunding. The refunding requirement for us is 3% threshold for savings at present value, and that's required by the policy. If you have any questions,
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
If you could just talk a little bit about the need for refunding revenue bonds for both water and the power side, and do you know how much savings you'll generate for the water side in this and the power side? That's one, and then I'll give you the next one.
Generally, the policy requires that when we identify the refunding candidates, potential refunding candidates, we must have at least 3% of present value savings. So at this point, there are potential refundings for the power system, about $700 million, about $200 million for the water system, but the market condition needs to be a little bit friendlier.
Do you know the department's current bond rating for each of these programs, the water side and the power side? And do you know whether the department will be able to access the best and the most competitive interest rate? Or are there some lingering issues as a result of last year's energy cost adjustment factor debate?
Our current bond ratings are still AA minus for the power system for all three rating agencies, basically AA minus for Fitch, AA minus for S&P, and AA3 for Moody's. With regard to the water system, a little bit stronger. They are AA solid. I'm sorry, can you ask the question again?
Oh, I was just asking whether or not bond ratings had been affected on the water side and the power side based on last year's ECAF discussion.
Not yet. So far, we've been fortunate. And now going forward, the rating agencies did mention about, the political process, how we need to get the rates through seems to be a little bit lengthier. What used to be a strength for the department, meaning that we are controlled by or regulated by the city council and the mayor, it used to be a credit strength because of the
Certainty?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, now it seems to be a very lengthy process. In addition to that, we just recently passed a measure that would add another layer on top of it. So interesting going forward.
In
But
I and J?
correct.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the city transfer issue,
Yeah.
but certainly the Office of Public Accountability.
Yeah, I would think that the city transfer issue creates more certainty now, because it has timelines associated with it, so they know when they look at, I think it's, what is the first one, November the 30th or something? I can't remember, but
Yeah.
it has very certain timelines now.
Yes, I
That
think it's
should be
just the
helpful.
budget process, procedural.
Right.
Yes.
Now, there's $2.9 million in debt issuance costs for the water side, and I wanted to know if that's consistent with existing market rates.
Yes, it is.
And then what about the 11.2 in debt issuance for the power side?
Yes, it is. Everything is relative to scale because the underwriter discount is a function of the par amount that we issue. So with a bigger par amount, then it will be, in dollar terms, it will be bigger, but percentage-wise, it would be the same.
Now, existing bonds that have been issued in the amount of $350 million on the water side, I'm going to assume that that's supporting your capital program. Am I correct about that?
No, actually, these are refunding bonds. We're asking authorization for refundings only. So any transaction that we do carry out, we should save the department money, and at least at 3% present value of the amounts that we are refunding.
And then if we're saving the department money, does that actually transfer or trickle down to the ratepayer in any way?
Yes.
How is that?
It may not be significant. For example, if we refinance, let's say, $100 million, the present value savings required for the department would be about $3 million. So obviously, we save money, but it may or may not be significant enough to have a rate impact. But certainly, any savings would help.
Mm-hmm. Now, on the power side is $1.5 billion. Now, are you familiar with what capital or infrastructure elements that bond issuance is supporting?
The $1.5 billion and the $350 million that we're requesting, this in part approximates the variable rate bonds that we have outstanding. To a great extent, the liquidity and the credit market to support these variable rate bonds are still tight. And these authorizations, we feel it is prudent to have it in place in the event that we cannot secure these credit or liquidity facilities to support it, then we can quickly convert it to fixed rate bonds. So it's prudent to have it in place.
Okay. Now, both of these issuance utilized a negotiated private bond sale approach as opposed to the traditional competitive bid approach. And I wondered if you would share with the committee the reasons for taking this approach and the benefits of a negotiated approach.
The negotiated approach gives us more flexibility in terms of the timing. For example, if the market does not cooperate or it changes, we can change the time in terms of when we would price it. We can certainly encourage or have better control in terms of having the minority firms or the state firms to participate in these transactions, as opposed to competitive where we have no control over that.
Okay. All right. And then did you have anything from the CAO's office to add?
Yes, I just wanted to add that on the water bond, there's $2.8 million in fixed rate bonds currently.
Would you ID yourself for the record?
Oh, Olivia Sevis Val-Lunga from City Administrative Office. And the variable rate is $325 million on that, on the water. And on the power side, it's $5.5 billion in fixed rate bonds and $969 in variable rate bonds, just to give you an idea.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Koretz, did you have any questions?
Yeah, just a question on what you said earlier about the political process. I don't think that when we placed the ratepayer advocate concept on the ballot that anyone anticipated it would be a great slowing of the process. I'm assuming that their work is done pretty much concurrent with everything else that's going on. So, Ms. Perry, I don't know if you had a different perception, since you were probably more involved in helping to create that than I, but I would think that would be a misperception that we would want to correct among the players out there. Now my only question on a side note on that is, are there things that we can anticipate that would actually help speed the process? Are there any changes that we should be making in terms of better communication, better cooperation between the entities, so what occurred in the past would be unlikely to occur, and hopefully we can move forward and have better perception from those that would be involved in the bonding markets?
Certainly, from the department standpoint, every time when we communicate to the rating agencies, we always try to put it in the positive light. But this is the general observation that they have on the other end. And remember, they have been rating us for a long time, so they understand when there are changes to the process. And this is just from my observation and what they are observing over the past few years. So it could be a positive thing when this ratepayers advocate office is in place, and maybe things will flow better, be different. So perception will change if that's the case.
Well, hopefully they'll get to see us in action, and hopefully the reality will change, and so the perception will change with it.
Certainly, that's what we hope for.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No further, there's no cards on this item, so again, we don't have quorum, so we'll do this without recommendation as a communication.
Communication from
From
the
the
chair.
chair, yeah.
For both 3 and 4.
Yeah, for all the items to this point, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that took care of 3 and 4.
Yeah.
5 and 6 were consent items, and I believe that takes us to 7.
Yes, it does. Sierra report, initial study, mitigated neg deck relative to services in connection with the Chatsworth mitigation project. Chatsworth Reservoir.
Good morning, Veronica Salumbides with the Office of the CAO. The item before you is an agreement with Allied Remediation Services, Inc., relative to the mitigation project at the Chatsworth Reservoir. The mitigation project was required by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the California Department of Fish and Game when they issued the permits to Republic Services, Inc. for the closure and extension projects at the Sunshine Canyon landfill. The mitigation project was required to offset the loss of about 13 acres of riparian and wetlands habitat due to the closure and extension projects. Under the terms of the proposed agreement, ARS, they're a wholly owned subsidiary of RSI, will obtain a mitigation plan to create, restore, and enhance 44 acres of riparian and wetland habitat within land currently owned by DWP. ARS will construct and implement the mitigation plan and monitor the progress of the mitigation project for at least 5 years after construction. After 5 years, the Department of Recreation and Parks will be responsible for monitoring the project. In addition, ARS will pay the city $1 million as mitigation payment. DWP will receive 54% of the mitigation payment as payment for the 44 acres of land. And the Department of Recreation and Parks will receive 46% of the payment as endowment for the ongoing maintenance of the mitigation project.
I have a quick question about that. After 5 years, 5 years is not a very long period of time, and I'm glad you laid out for us how much the Department of Recreation and Parks will receive. Now, have they done any strategic analysis as to whether or not in 5 years, given the amount that they will in all likelihood receive, whether that will be sufficient to operate and for what period of time?
I believe the $460,000 is kind of like a non-wasting endowment, so the interest from the $460,000 that they are going to receive should offset the annual cost of maintaining the mitigation project.
So basically, it's a wash.
That is correct.
No harm, no foul. It just keeps them even.
That's what the
They're not
department
gonna get ahead.
reported.
They're just going to stay the same.
That is correct.
And for how long, the $460,000, is that an annual expectation, or is that one time only?
The $460,000 is one time only. The annual cost of maintaining the project is supposed to be offset by interests earned from the $460,000 annually. Department representatives are actually here too.
Great. Why don't we have them come up?
Good morning. Good morning. Sid Makarag, Director of Real Estate for Recreation and Parks. At this time, we believe that there will be minimal maintenance that will be required of the department because the intent is to maintain the area as practically open space. So at this time, we don't have any major plans for any actual physical capital improvements to the site aside from the wetlands that's going to be installed by ARS.
Did you, is there a report on file from the CAO's office?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, you're the CAO?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what are the long-term implications of this in terms of its sustainability beyond the 5 years?
The $460,000 endowment, again, I believe the current estimate from the department is about $15,000 annually to maintain the space as open space. So we believe that the $15,000 or whatever interest is going to be earned from the $460,000 is going to be able to offset it in perpetuity.
So you'll only spend the interest earned. You'll adjust according to how much interest is earned. Is that what you're saying?
That is our intent, yes.
So you'll never exceed, in terms of your expenditures, the interest earned.
Well, I could not say that. I mean, it all depends on really what other plans we may have for the park. If the community so desires to add other additional improvements outside of what's currently planned for it, there may be additional costs that we may not know. But at this time, as it's currently planned and designed, we believe that the interest earned from the fund that we'll be receiving should be adequate to provide for the maintenance costs.
Yeah, you don't understand where I'm going with this, right?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. You know, because we don't want to create false expectations that 5 years down the road we can't deliver. So I'm just trying to make sure that there is some thread of logic, that there's an understanding that, you know, the expenditures won't exceed the amount of interest earned, so that there is this funding source that is tied directly to that, and anything above and beyond that, I don't know whether you've even thought about it.
Well, again, as currently planned, we believe that we do have enough funds to maintain the property
Okay, within the limitations
as currently designed.
as currently designed?
Yes.
Okay.
There are two actions required of council. One is to review, consider, and adopt the initial study, mitigated negative deck, and the associated mitigation, monitoring, and reporting plan for the Chatsworth Reservoir Wetlands and Riparian Mitigation Project. And the second thing is to approve and authorize the President and Secretary of the Board of Recreation and Parks to execute the agreement with Allied Remediation Services.
Okay. Mr. Caressa, did you have any questions?
Yeah, just one quick one. What's the money go towards? What's the 15,000-ish a year?
I believe that would be for typical brush clearance or other maintenance that would typically be done for open space park.
So the maintenance is just brush clearance, litter removal, that kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Williams, you have a card on item 7, so why don't you come forward?
Dr. Clyde Williams, El Sereno, also representing the Endangered Species and Wildlife Committee of the Angeles chapter of the Sierra Club. We're quite concerned regarding this project because in this particular condition, it's actually better as it is now compared to what's going to happen during the next few months if it's approved. We're quite concerned regarding the long-term aspects of, is this actually going to mitigate the loss of riparian elsewhere, plus what's going to be lost during the next 2 to 3 years while the whole area recovers from the, quotes, mitigation. So we're quite concerned about this. We're also concerned that recently DWP has basically forbidden any access to the site for bird watching and other activities related to the almost wilderness aspect of the location. We're quite concerned about this because the public is being excluded from any participation. We're quite from LA 32 Neighborhood Council, we got Ascot Hill from DWP, and then Parks and Rec took it over. And then what happened? Well, we had a community advisory group, and they were just put aside. And various things were done that had not been agreed upon with the community. And can we trust these people to do the right thing in this much better, much more valuable location? So I'd highly recommend that you add a community advisory group to approve actions within it, because there will be some change conditions, I guarantee, as there were with Ascot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Williams. Don't go away, because you're on public comment next. So sit back down. Okay.
We have time?
Well, I have to make time for you, so I will. Mr. Caressa, okay, we already covered you. All right, so this, again, will be a communication from the chair on 7. That marks the end of...
Barry, I wonder if we might address the concerns that were just expressed, whether...
What I thought I would do is talk to the council member in the district and ask him to do that.
Very good.
Yeah. So, and you can see me downstairs.
We have not had good experience
Yeah.
in El Sereno, but anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
no, you're right. And you'll probably be downstairs, right?
Occasionally.
Yeah, so why
Since
don't-
I can't walk on it,
All
we
right.
fly over it.
Okay, so why don't we talk to him downstairs and see what the story is, and then see if they're willing to do a motion to that effect to establish a, what would you call it, a
Community
advisory board?
advisory group.
Yeah.
Or board.
CAB.
Committee, whatever you
Yeah,
want to
whatever you
call
want
it.
to call it, but something like that.
Those people.
Yeah, an advisory board from that
Advisory.
community. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'll pull him to the rope and see if you can talk to him about your experiences with Ascot Hill.
What?
I'll-
Ascot?
Yeah, you can talk, just because, okay, we'll talk about it downstairs. Okay, don't go away, though.
Yep.
All right, so any other comments on 7? All right, so 7 is a communication from the chair that marks the end of our agenda. This is the period called public comment. Dr. Williams, come back up here. You are our only public comment card. this is the time to comment on items that are not on the agenda. So, Dr. Williams, you are our only comment.
Dr. Williams, El Sereno, also a member of the LA 32 Neighborhood Council, life member of the Sierra Club. However, there's a problem. And energy and environment, DWP, kind of all goes together. I get crosswise with many people because on one side, I'm an advocate of ratepayers' responsibility. On the other side, I want to get off coal. I want Hyperion to be toilet to tap, various things like that. But I also know that those are going to cost huge, billions of dollars. Who's going to pay? The ratepayers. But I also look at the fact that of the water that comes from the Delta and Owens Valley, a third of it never reaches a sewage treatment plant. A third. Over 30% goes to irrigation. Can we change that? Well, the 2 years of conservation has shown, yeah, we can change that. On the other side, it costs money to do that. So we're getting caught in a bind between get off coal, get Hyperion fixed, versus ratepayers. Maybe it's a fact that if the rates were more reflective of the true overall cost to the environment, they would be much higher. What happens when you increase the rates like gasoline? People conserve. People become more efficient. My house, we work on 50 gallons per person per day, which is 1/2, plus irrigation. The recent rainfall exceeded my 400 gallons of storage on site. So there are ways of changing it, but this committee is going to be locked in over the next couple of years with having the problems of doing the right thing on the environmental side and charging for it.
Right.
Full cost recovery. Thank you.
Right. Okay, so we'll see you downstairs, and I'll pull you over there to CD 12. All right, thank you. That means that the meeting is done, and thank you very much for attending. And Mr. Moss.